What if the story of modern Iran didn't begin in the 20th century, or even in the 7th century, but thousands of years ago, written in ancient prophecy? What if the land we now call Iran, known in the Bible as Persia, has a destiny that stretches from the pages of Scripture into the headlines of today? To understand the biblical destiny of Iran, we must go back to its ancient name, Persia. In the Bible, Persia is not a mysterious or obscure nation. It is central, powerful, influential, chosen at key moments to shape the history of God's people. The story begins with the rise of the Persian Empire under one of the most remarkable rulers of the ancient world, Cyrus the Great. In the 6th century BC, Cyrus conquered Babylon, the superpower that had destroyed Jerusalem and taken the Jewish people into exile. But unlike previous conquerors, Cyrus made a stunning decision. Instead of crushing captive nations, he allowed them to return home. In the Bible, in the book of Isaiah, written long before Cyrus was even born, a prophecy appears by name. Isaiah declares that a ruler called Cyrus would be God's shepherd, the one who would say of Jerusalem, "Let it be rebuilt." Imagine that. A Persian king named specifically in Hebrew prophecy before he ever reigned. When Cyrus finally conquered Babylon in 539 BC, he issued a decree allowing the Jewish exiles to return to Jerusalem and rebuild the temple. This decree is recorded in the opening chapters of the book of Ezra. Persia, modern Iran, became the instrument of restoration. The same empire that could have erased a people from history instead became the means by which they were preserved. And Cyrus was not the only Persian king to shape biblical history. Under Darius I, the rebuilding of the temple was reaffirmed and completed. Later, under Xerxes I, known in the Bible as Ahasuerus, the events of the Book of Esther unfolded. The Book of Esther is one of the most dramatic narratives in Scripture. It takes place entirely within the Persian Empire. A Jewish woman named Esther becomes queen. A plot arises to annihilate the Jewish people across the empire's 127 provinces. But through courage, timing, and divine providence, the plot is exposed and the Jewish people are saved. Again, Persia stands at the crossroads of destiny. It is in the courts of Persian power that the survival of a nation hangs in the balance. And it is in that same Persian court that deliverance is born. For centuries, Persia was viewed in Scripture not as an enemy of God's purposes, but as a vessel used in critical moments. Yet prophecy does not end with history. It moves forward into visions that seem to stretch toward the end of days. In the book of Daniel, Persia appears again in symbolic form. Daniel receives a vision of a ram with 2 horns, which the angel explains represents the kings of Media and Persia. This empire would rise after Babylon and dominate the region. Historically, that is exactly what happened. But Daniel's visions do more than describe ancient empires. They establish a pattern. Nations rise and fall under divine sovereignty. Persia's ascent was not random, it was foreseen. Then we come to one of the most debated prophetic passages in the Bible, Ezekiel 38 and 39. In these chapters, the prophet Ezekiel describes a future coalition of nations that will rise against Israel in what many believe to be a final confrontation. Among the list of nations named is Persia. The text reads, "Persia, Cush, and Put will be with them." This is striking. The name Persia appears not in a story of the past, but in a prophecy concerning a climactic conflict. For many students of prophecy, this is where modern Iran re-enters the biblical narrative. Today, Iran is a key player in Middle Eastern geopolitics. Its alliances, its rhetoric, and its regional influence have made it a central figure in discussions about Israel and the future of the region. Those who connect Ezekiel's prophecy to modern events see a parallel. Persia, now Iran, aligned in opposition to Israel in the latter days. But prophecy is rarely simplistic. Ezekiel's vision describes not merely a war, but a divine intervention. The coalition led by Gog is ultimately defeated not by human strength, but by an act of God. The message is clear. No matter how powerful nations become, they are not beyond divine oversight. This raises a deeper question. Is Iran's biblical destiny only about conflict? Or is there another layer, one less discussed but equally profound? To answer that, we must remember the pattern we have already seen. Persia in the Bible was not only an adversary, it was also a restorer, a protector, and a participant in God's redemptive plan. Even after the Persian era ended and the Greek Empire rose under Alexander the Great, the legacy of Persia endured. The Jewish community remained strong in Persian lands for centuries. In fact, one of the most significant centers of Jewish learning developed in Babylon, within the broader Persian sphere. The Babylonian Talmud was compiled there. Persia became a home to scholars, thinkers, and faith communities. Fast forward to the early centuries of Christianity. The Persian Empire, by then under different dynasties, became one of the regions where Christianity spread beyond the borders of the Roman world. The Church of the East grew deep roots in Persian territory. This is often forgotten in modern narratives. So when we speak of Iran's destiny, we must see both strands, the strand of confrontation and the strand of contribution. The Bible also presents a future vision that transcends war. In the book of Isaiah, the prophet describes a time when nations that were once enemies of Israel would worship the God of Israel together. Though Persia is not explicitly named in that particular passage, the theme is unmistakable. Former rivals become participants in global restoration. Could it be that Iran's ultimate biblical destiny is not destruction, but transformation? This perspective shifts the focus. Instead of seeing prophecy as a fixed script of inevitable doom, it reveals a dynamic story of sovereignty and redemption. Nations are not static characters. They change, they rise, they fall, they align, they realign. Modern Iran is a complex nation with a rich cultural history stretching back thousands of years. It is the heir of ancient Persia, a civilization known for art, architecture, poetry, and governance. Figures like Cyrus are still honored within Iranian heritage. The memory of a ruler who respected diverse cultures and allowed displaced peoples to return home remains part of that legacy. And yet, in contemporary politics, Iran is often portrayed primarily through the lens of conflict. The tension between Iran and Israel dominates headlines. For those who read Ezekiel 38 as a map of the future, these tensions appear prophetic. But prophecy is not meant to fuel fear. It is meant to reveal that history is not chaotic. The same God who named Cyrus before his birth, who foresaw the rise of Persia in Daniel's visions, and who inspired Ezekiel's warning of a future coalition, is portrayed as sovereign over all outcomes. One detail in Ezekiel's prophecy is especially important. The defeat of the invading coalition results in the nations recognizing the power and holiness of God. The ultimate goal is revelation, not annihilation for its own sake. This reframes the idea of destiny. Iran's biblical destiny, if understood through the full arc of Scripture, is tied to a larger narrative about the recognition of divine sovereignty among the nations. In the New Testament, the message expands even further. the gospel spreads outward from Jerusalem to the ends of the earth. The boundaries that once defined Israel and the surrounding nations become less rigid. Ethnic and national distinctions are no longer barriers to participation in God's promises. This means that modern Iranians, like all peoples, stand within the same invitation described in the New Testament, an invitation to faith, redemption, and reconciliation. So what is the truth about Iran written in the Bible? First, Iran, ancient Persia, is undeniably present in Scripture. It is not a footnote. It is central to key moments in Jewish history. Second, Persia was used by God in extraordinary ways, including the restoration of Jerusalem under Cyrus. Third, Persia appears in future-oriented prophecy, particularly in Ezekiel 38, as part of a coalition against Israel. Fourth, the overarching biblical narrative points toward a future in which nations recognize divine authority and participate in restoration. The tension between these elements creates a dramatic picture. On one hand, the possibility of conflict. On the other, the promise of transformation. History shows that Persia once stood as a protector of the Jewish people. Prophecy suggests it may stand in opposition in a future conflict. Yet the final vision of Scripture is not endless war. It is renewal. When we look at the modern nation of Iran, we must resist the temptation to reduce it to a single prophetic headline. The Bible's portrayal of Persia is multidimensional. It is a kingdom raised up at the right time. It is a setting for deliverance in Esther's story. It is a symbol in Daniel's vision. It is a named participant in Ezekiel's prophecy. But above all, it is part of a world governed by a sovereign God who directs history toward a final purpose. The biblical destiny of Iran, therefore, is inseparable from the destiny of all nations. It is woven into the larger story of judgment and mercy, power and humility, exile and return. As we watch events unfold in the Middle East, the ancient words of the prophets echo across centuries. They remind us that today's tensions are not isolated from history. They are threads in a tapestry far older and far more intricate than modern politics. The truth about Iran written in the Bible is not a simple prediction. It is a layered narrative, one that begins with restoration under Cyrus, moves through survival in Esther's time, expands into symbolic prophecy in Daniel, and culminates in apocalyptic vision in Ezekiel. Whether one interprets these prophecies literally, symbolically, or historically, one fact remains. Persia, modern Iran, occupies a significant place in the biblical imagination. And perhaps the most profound lesson is this: nations that once served as instruments of restoration can later become symbols in prophecy, but they are never outside the reach of divine purpose. In the end, the destiny of Iran is not defined solely by geopolitics or military alliances. According to Scripture, its story, like the story of every nation, is ultimately defined by its relationship to the unfolding plan of God. The pages of the Bible reveal a God who names kings before they rise, who steers empires without erasing human responsibility, and who brings history to a conclusion aligned with justice and redemption. Iran's biblical destiny is still part of that unfolding story. And as history continues to move forward, the ancient words remain, waiting, challenging, and reminding us that the truth written long ago still speaks into our world today.